so much. And we have this available if somebody needs it later. So today we're going to be talking about right speech. I think this is one of the most challenging, and also for me, one of the most beautiful path factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. We've already now done the wisdom factors. Those were the two, right view. And we've come to understand right view in our summary as what? No clinging to a view. I think we can sum it up. No grasping, no saying it's only like this, it's my way. We stay open, wide, receptive, inclusive, always looking for what is boundless, not narrowed, not limited by our conditioning, not tight and contracted around a self-made me. Yeah, well, right? And that itself is wisdom. And we begin there and end there. It is a continuous holographic loop. There is no linear to this. In any one factor, it says that the other factors are also present. In any one factor, it says the other factors are also there. So it's that kind of ever self-feeding, self-nourishing, self-making confluence. So we understand, and that wisdom is observed in wholesome, wholehearted, I think was one of the words we have come up with. View, how I see things, can I see them clearly? And that right view, as we are making contact with that which is available, the objects, the phenomenon out there, of course, they're not separate from us, so it's a little false, isn't it? But this object that we make with both these lenses, this apparatus and that experience, sometimes called objects in the Buddhist tradition, lead to perception and thought. So it results in an electromagnetic biochemical form. And that form is known as thought, which is a nice concrete way to really capture a process. It's not a static thing. It's a ever, like a flowing river, ever unfolding, ever moving current expression and process. That is now what we then call wholehearted understanding, wholehearted aspiration, wholehearted intention. The word I decided I was going to stay closest to for that path factor was wholehearted resolve. Some beginning will or volition manages to arise, a different level, another form. And now we're going to move to how those two in the wisdom factors now begin to move into these three path factors, often understood as ethic, morality, how we then live. And speech is, again, I think one of the most difficult, how we then live, express, behave, manifest from those correct, right, wholehearted internal processes. So those internal processes now are going to begin to manifest, and here they are manifesting in samavaka, right, a wholehearted or good speech. Again, I think it's the most difficult. One of the things we're going to be talking about today, I don't think we'll get through this chapter because it's so big for me. One I think we have to continuously practice, and we need to talk about how do we then practice this week this beautiful path factor, wholehearted speech. In this, by the way, not only are we going to be talking about speech, we're going to be talking about receiving speech, which is then called of what? Deep, wholehearted listening. So it's not one way. It is not just the talker. It is not just the manifester. It is also that which is received, that which is taken in, that which is understood and experienced as another. We're going to be listening to the music of the other. Somebody remind me about that phrase. We're going to be listening to the music of the other and see if we can allow it to resonate, not only here, which is where we tend to limit our listening. I heard you, but actually listening with our whole bodies and then ultimately our whole hearts. That this is really the essence of this path factor. So if we understood that in the listening, we could also understand it then, couldn't we, in the speaking? Can we speak from not only that construct of experiences perceived and then just shoot it right back out as self, but rather let it transmute and transmit all the way into the whole of the body and also one's heart, and then express like a mirror, rather than like a me. We're going to see if we can't begin to shift this like a mirror. Can we relate to that other and hold that experience, that contact for a moment in this shared symphony of this music of expression? I'm going to stop right there for a minute before we even practice. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you do, don't you? Yeah, because you've been in the experience, haven't you? When you've been truly heard, right? That deep knowing where you went like, oh no, this person is understanding because they don't have anything in the self in the way. They have really removed these conditioned dynamics to just be present to you. And that presence is like that dustless mirror is one of the ways that the Buddha himself has described it. A dustless mirror, like nothing in the way of this experiencing the other in this form called wise, wholehearted, right speech. Okay, so we get this idea, right? We'll talk more about it and look at the chapter in a moment. Keep in mind the music of the other, the song of the other. We're going to be listening more deeply than one word and its meaning would be like listening to one note and be insufficient. We are going to be listening beyond the words for the heart of the communication. We're going to be this week doing that first, rather than just cognizing, oh, that's what they meant. They're asking for the orange, pass the salt. I want a brownie. No, we're going to actually take that in, let the music translate into the body. Oh, there's a need here. What is that need and what is the communication? Is it simply a wanting? Is it a need? Are they in distress? We're going to be investigating that. Okay, so let's prepare to sit. And in that mirror-like quality of mind, what's required? Stillness. In the mirror-like quality of mind, that which can us receive the reflection by, right, the ear door, by the eye door, by the heart door, the other in speech. We have to have stillness and presence to take it in. Otherwise, it's just us in there, in the way, right? Me, am I being validated or not being validated, right? Aren't these the questions? Am I being heard or seen or not seen in this speech? We're not even over in the possibility of the experiencing the other, where are we? How's it affecting me? How am I? What's going on for me? Are they liking me? Are they validating me? Are they thinking I'm good? Are they saying I'm worthy? This is one of the first errors in our habits for speaking and listening. And doesn't everybody know it's them? Right? You go, oh yeah, that's right. This isn't even about me. This is actually about receiving the other, not just what's it mean for me. And that's what I believe is so beautiful. The precious symphony of experience in speaking and listening. I'm going to read a short piece. I couldn't get it up on the board. I apologize for that. I want to just check. I feel like we're a little bit, we're unmuted and I'm getting some feedback. Let me see if I can figure out what that is. I'm going to mute this and see if we're still okay. Can everyone still hear me? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, this is called The Winter of Listening. The Winter of Listening by David White. And as you prepare to sit, see if you can't simply receive rather than construct the self-receiving. Can I simply receive it without, what does it mean? What did he mean? What does it mean for me? Just see if we can't let this have contact. No one but me by the fire, my hands burning red in the palms, while the night wind carries everything away outside. All this petty worry while the great cloak of the sky grows dark and intense round every living thing. All this trying to know who we are, and all this wanting to know exactly what we must do. What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that diminish its presence. I'm going to read that again. What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that diminish us and the other. What we strive for in perfection is not what turns us into the lit angel we desire to become. What disturbs and then nourishes has everything we need. What we hate in ourselves is what we cannot know in ourselves. But what is true to the pattern does not need to be explained. What is he saying? It can be known by others and often through this communication, this speech. Does not need to be explained, not really, not if we're truly paying attention. Inside everyone is a great shout of joy, wanting to be born. Inside each of us is that great shout of joy, wanting to be heard. And so let's prepare to sit. And as we establish ourselves, we are becoming near that stillness, that stability, that silence. Mirror to ourselves. And so we begin to incline the mind, direct the attention towards this body sitting here. And we begin to make contact with those sensorium that define our beingness, right? That felt sense, for example. We're just going to drop into that first. And then you feel where the felt sense enlivens that awareness. You can gently scan the body. You can rhythmically, progressively make contact. We often begin in the feet. There's no requirements there. See what works for you. I like to suture the body together. It just gives me a little more direct contact. But for some people, just sweeping the body gently, feeling into its wholeness, making real contact. Knowing directly by contact the feet, the legs, and the hips, the back, the shoulders, the arms, and resting for a moment in the hands, knowing, feeling not only the coolness or the warmth, not only the dryness or the moisture, not only the hard or the soft, but the vibration, the tingle, the pulse, the throb, the numb, the inner and the outer of the hands. And this requires the stilling of the moving mind. And then moving back up from the hands, up the arms, up the shoulders, into the head. And then coming down into the front of the body, this softened animal body of you. Feeling it soften, letting the body in the front particularly release, relax. We do not resist this humanness. We invite it in this softening. And if we are not soft in the front, we cannot receive, we cannot open, we cannot allow. We move into the chest, into the belly. And with each out breath, then we open. Feeling directly into this humanness, the slightly tight or tangled, the vibrating, the alive, the numbed, the deadened. It's all here. And we are not trying to know it all. We're only trying to know at this note this one breath. And so we rest the attention here, somewhere in this symphony of the front of the softened body, and we attend, we listen, we make contact, we know. Note by note, breath by breath. You have been taking in these words. They have already had an impact. Feel them. There is no you, the listener, and me, the speaker. There is only this. Drop in. The vibration, the sound, the tune, the melody is here. This is the mirror. And rather than push away or grab close, we simply listen, know, feel, touch, be. Can we embody this speech, this contact, this knowing, and keeping in mind that this knowing is not mine? It has come throughout all time. Its karmic imprint is as long as life itself. And the resonance and the vibration of these teachings, of this practice, of this reflection are present here. We are in communion not only with these words, not only with these teachings, not only with this karmic imprint, not only with this lineage, not only with these concepts, but with all things. How is it touching you? Know this. Words do not only touch the ear door, they translate. They are embodied and they are held right there in the heart. Let them resonate there. And we offer the out breath as a way of softening the instrument of the body. So that most complete, most wholehearted resonance can be known. Are we willing to communicate with ourselves this openly, this deeply, to know ourselves? Our fears, our pains, our joys, our humanness. And then let that wholehearted speech and wholehearted listening emerge. And then everything else is chatter. If it is mind made alone, it is best unspoken. We are listening to the deep wick of our own being, to that inner melody, that song of our own resonance. And if we are not speaking from it, silence is best so that we can know it. And then allow form, the form of words, the form of communication to come from it. And what would you say then? And what would you hear? And we let the words in our head fall away for the direct experience itself. This is how we must begin. The words come from the contact with our own hearts, our own softened bodies, our own belly, our own humanness. Right speech is an expression of this. and will be heard. Because it is not only ours, it's not just mine. It belongs to us all, and not only now. This is its enormity. Not only now, it belongs to all of us throughout all time. And as we make contact with this, we let a word form. As we touch into this humanness, into this belonging, into this community, into this presence, into this being alive, we let a word form. What is that word? Is it a sound? Is it a concept? What is it? And if we embody it completely, it will be communicated, whether it is spoken or unspoken. Whether it is the ear door or simply the heart door, receiving it. Whatever word arises or does not arise from this, whatever sound appears or does not appear, this is right speech. And thus creating a space for whatever arises into sound, music, song, form. And is received by more than the ear. but the whole body, one's whole heart. And clear seeing, open, boundless, awakened mind. Wholehearted listening. And then you see that they are not separate at all. The felt sense, the embodied presence, is as much a part of the communication as the sound, the word, the speaking, and the listening. May we be still enough, quiet enough, present enough to speak and listen well. And may all beings benefit. And so, what was that word? What was that sound for you? You can write it in chat. You can just come on and express it. warmth.
It was you.
You. What else? What was it? Was it a sound? And if it wasn't a word or a sound, what was it? It was a vibration, very much so. A felt sense, very much. My song matters, both silently, I think I saw, and peacefully, yes. All songs matter. Silence, yes, Chris. Yeah, it's the medium, isn't it, through which everything is known. Exactly correct. And without it, cannot be known. Isn't that amazing? And there is no better. It is not better that there is only silence or that there is form in the, it says in the suttas, right? That these two are intermingled, interconnected, they inter-are. And so it is not, there is not a better or worse. It is, where are you making contact? Where do you feel it? And if we do not first establish that stillness, that silence, that presence, that capacity for sensing into the vibration, into the resonance, into the heart song, it says really right speech is not possible. It's just not possible. You're just chattering idly from some big head. And then what would it mean if you spoke and listened from this? What would it mean? For me, I'll tell you what it means for me, and then I'll hear from you. It means I would speak less, because I would be establishing that medium, that openness, that the conduits to that communication in a way that would require time, presence, and that stillness. And so we're going to be working on that medium this week, and then see what comes from it. What comes from it. And how to remember sincerity through silence. Yes. Presence. That's right. Whatever is real lives there. And we are frequently too fearful, too self-protecting, too self-making, to really bring this into the world. But in fact, especially now, isn't it true? Maybe more now than ever, it's what we most need. Marie says, speak little, speak well. They go together. They go together. Why don't we look at the chapter a little bit, and then we're going to construct together some of these practices. The awareness to bite my tongue. Well, that's interesting, actually, Chris. I think that is a beginning practice, by the way. I think it is to say nothing, but not for the nothingness. I think it's to say nothing so that we can get present, so that we can get to ourselves, so that we can get to the whole listening speaking apparatus, right? The whole mind, body, and heart before we then do something. And so I do think it does begin with creating a space for that. That's right. And I think in that space, there is a work, there is a practice. And that is, how do I drop back into this body? How do I drop back into my own heart? And for me, I've noticed I've been placing my hand on my chest so I can feel the communication. And its resonance, its song, its music. Remember, we're going to think of it like this because we so grab the word, we miss the music. We are so locked onto the concept that we do not see the pain of the other. We do not feel the fear. We do not open to the needs of the other. We are simply locked in what are you saying? And not only what are you saying, but what are you saying about me? That it is so self-referencing, our typical habitual speech. It is so just about me being okay. And right, it's the brainstem just looking for verification, validation. What are you saying and what is its impact on me, that we rarely are really open as we just were practicing being to the whole symphony. We're catching just the flute, and that's because we're flute players. We miss the whole continuously. And we're going to be practicing dropping in, taking a breath, finding our contact point. What is that? I just gave out some little hearts to our board the other day as we were wrapping cookies. Can I stay in the heart touch, however that is? Can I hold something to make, can I put my own hand on my own heart? Can I create, as Chris is saying, a space and some silence for the contact? And that would require saying less and hearing more. Yeah, it's okay to feel the pain of another. Maybe past okay, right, Dennis? It may be required because in feeling the pain of another, we can also attend to the pain in ourselves. This is the path and the practice. Okay, are we getting the idea here at all? Anybody have anything to say about this? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Is it making any sense? Let me know. I'm going to see if I can't find the book here so we can look at the chapter. It's a little bit lengthy, so trying to see where share is. Let me see if I can get to that. Here we go. Here we are. Can anybody see that? I'm going to see if I can't catch you a little bit there. Denise, I can see you. Can you see that? Right speech. Okay. So let's look at Gregory's. Now, Gregory, by the way, was a music composer in a previous life. Prior to his training, he was a monk in, I think it was Sri Lanka, possibly for some years, but he was a music composer. So he has this very beautiful holding of right speech and listening in this form of music, sounding, resonance, and I love that. That's why we're going to stay with that with him. And the very first thing he says I thought was critical, which is speaking and listening, these forming and receiving into the formless, forming and formless, making contact, taking it in, is a karmic feedback loop. And I said something about this, didn't I, at the beginning, which is it comes from more than this moment. It comes from all moments. My parents are in here as I am speaking now. The way I'm forming the words is reflective of both my parents and their languaging, right? And their parents, and on and on and on, and then beyond into the formation of the concepts that have come throughout 26 plus hundred years and longer, right? And that it's all here, taking form and moving from form to formless continuously, and that we have to understand something about that. I tend to personalize less when I remember this. When I remember it is not just the speaker and the listener, this is all life in its confluence right here. And what is the message? Can I really understand the music, the song, the symphony that is playing right now, and respond to it then in some skillful way? And the answer is, of course, with, right, stillness, with silence, with presence, with openness, with attending and attention. We're going to stay close to that this week. The archive of one's whole life is speaking in any moment. That's what we just said. It is not simply these words, this moment. And if we minimize this and don't understand it, we will really not understand the other or ourselves, will we? We will just go, well, that was stupid, or that was unskillful, or that, but we won't really understand that the resonance is so much larger, both for the person, and it is also timeless. Let's say it is something that's been looking for form for throughout time. The archive of my life speaks through my words, it speaks through my deeds, it speaks through my thoughts, right? And this, so now we're going to focus on speech. I'm going to go back to this next one. In that it is wholesome and inclines towards understanding, it is right speech. In that it is wholesome, I'm going to define what that means now, and inclines towards wise understanding. What is that? There are some conditions for right speech. I'm going to tell you what they are, but remember, holding them as an idea will not be sufficient. We have to drop in to being. What are they? It is that the speech is useful. That's one, that it is useful in some way. You have discerned prior to speaking that there will be some benefit of this, that it is important and will be a contribution. It is kind, that it is offered out of the good heart, towards the benefit, towards the wholesome, towards a contribution, not towards enmity, not towards aggression, not towards ill will, not towards separation, but towards the essential connection. That it is timely, that it is spoken with understandings, that there is not only a speaker, but a listener, and that both are required for the communication, invites right timing. Boy, I don't pay attention to that nearly enough. That it is, I said, kind, that it is useful, that it is timely, that it is of benefit. These are the inclinations towards right speech. In a speaking and listening, we're going to just call that a transaction, maybe. There is a mind-to-mind transmission. And I'm going to shift that thinking and that languaging to heart. I think it'll be more useful, because I think we're already up here too much. Mind to mind. Let's drop it down into the body, embodied, vibrational, not conceptual, and heart to heart. Does anybody see why I might do that? Does that make sense to anybody? Why am I not saying mind to mind, but heart? I want us to think about this as heart to heart. Anybody, any ideas about this? Why?
Hello.
Hi.
Because I think the idea is to feel first for ourselves and the other, as opposed to thinking first of
Exactly.
ourselves and the other.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Is this Marie?
Yes.
Hi, Marie. Good morning. Isn't it true that without that, the communication will be short shrifted by like everything? By the concept alone, what are you going to really understand? Like, not so much, right? But the feeling, the felt sense is going to communicate, I believe, the song, the music, the symphony. And I want us to drop into that consistently throughout this week. It will be big, big, noble practice. It will mean what Chris said, I will have to speak less in order to feel that resonance and to feel into that music, into that song, into that symphony. I will not be able to simply form concepts, which is mostly, by the way, what we are doing while the other is speaking. We are not listening, we're forming a response. Right after we establish, is this good for me or not good for me? We're simply forming a response. No space, no stillness, no contact, no felt sense, just good for me, not good for me, validating me, affirming me, not so much, right? And then autopiloted directly into language, which is just filling the world with rhetoric, isn't it? Just more words that have little or no real contact and real meaning. It's what we all hate about politics, right? Just the big heads, blah, blah, blah. You go, I don't even want to listen. I can't even listen. I don't know. I don't get any felt sense of what this person's really caring about, what's really important, what's really right at all. It's just blah, 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 blah. And we're so overloaded, aren't we all? We're so tired of that. And it isn't just political then. It's happening in our families, it's happening in ourselves, it's happening, right? Just some kind of egoic expression of love me, take care of me, see me, validate me. And it is continuous. And so we're going to be watchful of our experience and what we do with that. It says it is timeless. I've already said that. It's coming throughout all time. There is no distance of it. We're communicating continuously, not only with the people in our room, in our families, in our Sangha, on the Zoom. This vibration is resonating out well beyond any and all of that, and will continue to do so throughout this day. Watch its resonance. Watch how these words, this communication, these teachings, this practice resonates well beyond this moment. This is its karmic influence and loop throughout the whole of and of course the day is just one limited unit throughout, just continuously resonant. Listening and speaking forms a powerful karmic experience and workshop. That's what I just said. Speech is a tool of skillful understanding. It means, is your speech coming from that right view and right thought or right intention? If you do not know the intention for your speech, it cannot be so. If you do not know the reason you are speaking, the aspiration in your speaking, if you have not run it by those conditions for wise speech, is it skillful? Is it right timing? Is it kind? is it of benefit? If you haven't assessed that, then and again, of course, it's happening continuously, it cannot meet the criterion that the Buddha himself established for right speech. If you can't feel it, is what I want you to know. If it's coming from the ears or the head alone, don't say it. Just simply do not speak. Let yourself feel it first, and then speak from that. So then you might be saying things more like reflective, mirror-like statements, wouldn't you? You'd be saying, wow, I'm sensing your distress. I'm sensing your happiness. I'm sensing your excitement. I'm sensing your joy, right? That would be one of the first, it's just reflective, isn't it? I would just be validating and saying, I think I'm getting it. I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you, I hear your song. I'm in presence with you. We would make reflective statements, not I think, you are. We wouldn't be separate. Couldn't be, actually. In right speech, there could be no me, the listener, and you, the speaker, says Gregory. It is its own confluence. They cannot be separated. And we don't separate ourselves, do we? Either in the speech or in the listening as somehow just the other. We rarely experience another in their purity, do we? Because we have our own lenses, our own bias, our own understandings, and our own limitations in the way. Well, with a little bit of stillness, with a little bit of groundedness, with a little bit of openness, can we really hear the humanness and what it is asking for or offering? And Marshall Rosenberg said, there's only those two things happening ever. There is an offering or an asking, a bid for a need or an offering towards a need. That is the whole point of all communication, period. That's it, if we're going to break it down into its simplest forms. Just going to check chat to make sure I'm not missing. Heart to heart doesn't necessarily require words. In fact, I would say exactly most often does not include words first. How could it? You'd be busy, you wouldn't be receptive, would you? You'd be forming in the formations. So I would say be very careful about the idea that it's going to first include words. I would say the opposite, Kelly. I agree with you completely. Not only not necessarily, maybe if you're speaking, you're not being that vibrational instrument first. The mind likes to chatter, but the heart feels. Yes, it does. What really matters. I think so too, Dennis. And I think our job is to be available and to be the receptive and expressive instrument of that. Marie, how to interact, be kind and present when someone needs something I do not want to give. I want to protect and withdraw. There's actually nowhere you have to go, Marie, because nobody can take anything from you. That's actually not possible. You have to offer it. There is no such thing as someone taking something from you. There is, though, that exchange I just talked about, which is the expression of a need and then the offering towards the need. It is continuous, but you don't have to offer anything that's not real, not yours, not appropriate for you. So there's likely another storyline in there called I'm supposed to, or because they want it, I'm supposed to give it. And there is no, nobody puts a gun to our heads, not usually. Well, even when they do, and says, you have to do this for me. You can say, I'm hearing you, I'm understanding, my hands are on my own heart, I'm getting the resonance of your need, I'm appreciating your humanness in the need, and this is the offering I can make. And it might simply be presence. I heard you, right? Wouldn't even that be an amazing gift? I'm hearing you. And then often what I notice is whether I'm going to be a part of that offering or not, my very being able to receive, hold with, witness that with the other is in its way an offering, even when I don't go with them, even when I don't speak, even when I don't make a direct, tangible form-based offering called I'll go with you. And we also have to learn how to trust that in ourselves, that that presence, that very hearing it is a gift, is a contribution. Whatever we do or do not do is actually not the point at all. In fact, mostly, I would say the very listening, receiving is a much larger gift. Okay, let me go back to the chapter. The potency of language and listening. They are conditioned, says Gregory. It means they're not pure. They're influenced by those karmic realities of throughout all time, throughout our families, throughout our traditions, throughout the regions we lived in, throughout the cultures we've grown up in. That language is formed, influenced, and impacted by all of that. And of course, we know the truth of that. Unskillful communications do not reverberate. They are not resonant between sender and receiver. Have you not seen this 1,000 times where two people are just talking at each other, that nobody's receiving anything, that there's not even a space there for that vibration to be held and known? There's just blah, 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 blah. You, that, this, that, you don't, and it's not interesting. Like you just want to go home. Like I don't, there's nothing really happening here but ego battle for meanness. And I think sometimes not participating in that, even as audience, is skillful. Like this is not, there's nothing really happening that is meaningful. Of course, siblings, young siblings, it's not particularly skillful to engage that or to get in the middle of going, it's just everybody needs to stop. Everybody go get a little quieter, a little more present, and then we can sort through if there's really an issue. And usually by then there really isn't, because it was never really about anything. It was just an asserting of self-making usually. Given the potentially wide and lasting impact of speech and listening, even a small single act of communication. Now remember, words are not words. We can see why speech, one of many human actions, that we have as humans, is important enough to merit its own path factor. That it was so significant, said the Buddha, that he gave it its own noble path. That it was that essential. And I agree. I think it's the first forming beyond thought of our way of manifesting, of being, and often in speech. And it is the thing I believe we do with the most conditioning, with the most karmic influence attached, with the most ego in hand. And that's why it's such a beautiful communication, and why the Buddha put it even before the other path factors, that he put it as the very first after the wisdom factors. And then it says here, it explains a little bit that these aspects of sila, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, these middle factors, why they are so important. It is the expression of our skillfulness, of our goodness, And I don't mean as compared to our badness, but our good hearts and their aspirations. And they are that which is manifest in us. This is how we are living, right? We could think of it that way. Are we living skillfully? And our right speech, the actions and efforts we take in our work, the work we do, whether it's an occupation or the other ways we spend time and energy, are expressions of that skillfulness or not. And boy, isn't it true? Not only by how they're measured, the skillfulness and not skillfulness, measured not only by the impact to us personally, called the amount of money we make when we do it, for example, but how it impacts others and the world. So we will keep looking at that. And right speech itself, is its goodness translatable not only for you and how good it was for you, but then good for the other, good for all those who come after, and good continuously or not. And we'll take a look at that, especially in right livelihood, because it might be good for you. You might be making a lot of money doing it, and it may not actually translate into being of skill and benefit to the world at all. The Buddha used things like arms dealers, people who sold drugs, alcohol, and other for living, including people like people who are just hunting for the hunt or sport, and said this is not skillful and will not result in continuing benefit. So we look at whether others are helped or whether others are harmed by our speech. We use this as a way of assessing its skillfulness and its benefit. And then, of course, don't we all reflect like, wow, I guess I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, that's also completely correct. Like, well, like half of what I've said would be better to have left unsaid. Since I don't think it was a benefit. I don't know if it went past me and my own thoughts about and my own, I screamed stop at my husband just the other day. He was just in a little bit of a rant. Can't we all? Nothing personal. And I just went, stop. I don't think the concept was wrong. I think the delivery was probably way off. But was it skillful? Well, it was correct. It would have been better for us to find a way to pause. That there was truth in that. Was it skillfully delivered or benefit without harm? Nope. Didn't pass the test on that. It was not so skillful. It was like, whoa, oh, do I get to scream stop to you? And of course I said yes, because he does. And I was like, maybe the most helpful thing when we're caught in the, how do we invite that pause? How do we invite that pause? Well, anybody have an idea? How do we invite the pause when someone's caught in that idled, self-making, chattering, ranting? How do we invite the pause? Anybody have an idea? Because we're going to need to practice that this week. Any thoughts? We'll think about it. I'll ask you again in a minute. How are we going to invite the pause? Wrong speech as opposed to wholehearted speech is what? That which is disconnected, that which is concept laden, that which is self-aggrandizing, self-making, just about communicating self-referencing. Me about this and this about me and more me and I this and I that. The pronoun is highly overused, folks. Watch how many times you say I in a sentence in a day. It's way, way, way in excess of what is of benefit. I this, I that. What would happen if we took that pronoun out? What would happen to our speech if we took the I word right out? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's remove the I this week and see how are you then going to communicate without it? Removing the pronoun I. Somebody remember that for me. We're going to include that in our right speech practice this week. Removing the I. What would you say about our humanness, about our shared experience here, about that which is resonant in the between, in the relational, not only about you? If that's one of the beauties of the definition, it is not simply wrapped around the me. What would we say? That's the definition of wrong speech for me. It is not something in the relationship, in the resonance. It is simply self-reflecting, self-perpetuating, self-making. I, me. Let's take them out. Then what? You'll say less, I promise. At the minimum, won't you? You'll say less. And then what will you say? Will it be kind, timely, of benefit, and spoken in true friendship? Yes, is the answer. Just by that, just the removing of the separation, just the I removing me, removing, it will contribute to the relationship. These attributes apply to the full range of human communication. Like Kelly said, not just words, but how we attend, how we are listening, how we hold our bodies. Meta communication, right, is all present here. When we are not just in reflecting ourselves, how do we look like we're listening? Well, better. Truly vibrational instruments. I am here to receive. Okay, what's being said? I'm leaning in. I'm open-hearted. I'm right. Hands are open. Heart is open. Eyes are in attention. This is right speech in its expression and right listening. Nonverbal forms, that was what I was just conveying there, can be timely or intrusive, beneficial or damaging. And of course, we know that the listening is as relevant to right communication as speaking. No questions about it. That he just went on to say that. Sometimes right speech is called right communication, right expression. We could say right vibration almost, couldn't we? Right resonance. Sure. The karmic power of speech, we continue the karmic influence. That which has come to us without attention, without attending, and will go on to cultivate karmic debt or karmic benefit. And can we make sure that whatever has come, that we contribute to it transmuting into karmic benefit going forward? We could change the world. We know this with these simple expressions. The fruit, says Gregory, of these expressions. Every volitional or willful choice made act, mind, speech, or body, leaves a trace in us, not only in us, however, also that trace extends and expands and influences and impacts others, just like music, right? It is sent out, but it has its vibration and impact, and that continues, because as you are impacted, so then it goes on to live. When you are in joy, for example, all the joy that you are experiencing is expressed in some way that then furthers it and its benefits, or the other actually diminishes out of my pain, out of my fear, out of my hatred, out of my ill will, out of my greed. What I am constructing, cultivating, and creating more. That's why we bring our mindfulness to bear. Our present thoughts and actions condition how we experience not only the present moment, but the future moments. Does a speech act increase or decrease separation, disconnect, hatred, ill will? Are you saying anything that, by the way, is going to contribute to that? Don't say it. I don't care if it's true. Don't speak it. If you know, right? And I've made this mistake 1,000 times, and it has been so clearly misunderstood. I'll give you an example of that. I go on vacations with my mom. I try to go every year. And I don't know what I said, by the way, to my husband, but I must have said something that he heard me say, she is difficult for me. Now, by the way, that was not my experience. That's not what I was trying to say. I don't know what my words were, but somehow he got that. So then when I said, I really would love to take another trip with my mother this year, my husband almost fell off his chair because he took in 2 years ago, my mother is difficult to travel with. This was very confusing for me because that was not my experience. However, I reflected and I realized what I had said, that he heard as, this is distressing for me. I said, when I am with my mother on a vacation, it's really not just like relaxing as I am in attention of my mother. That is not only my gift to her, but also now at this age and stage for her, a requirement. And he heard, this is not good, this is distressing, and consequently something I would not want or choose to do. Now, by the way, there's no right or wrongs in this, is there? The right or wrong then became the conversation about, since that's not how I feel, I don't know what was said, but it clearly did not reflect my heart. Whatever the words were, I did not somehow translate what I was really meaning. The more concrete we are, for example, the more we will grab the language itself and have trouble hearing its resonance and its intention. And we will grab, right? That's one of our errors in speech and listening. We grab it and then go, this is the way it's got to be. Okay, we're already over. I don't want to make us much later. The two practices are before speaking and in listening. We have to drop into the body and into the heart. And how are you going to remember that? How are you going to remember that? Hand on heart, to carry a heart, to speak that word that you thought of, that vibrates that for you. Seed syllables are sacred. Words like ah and om, right, tend to be vibrational and opening for us so that we can both hear and receive another. You might choose to call that out for yourself in an actual clearing before speaking, before listening, in its attempts. We're going to be setting the stage for speech and listening this week. Just practicing dropping in, practicing opening the heart. And I've just given you 3 solid examples: touching one's own heart to receive or extend, carrying something that vibrational. I have my heart here that I'm going to be carrying with me the whole time as a making contact with my heart, and also vibrating, clearing and offering a vibration with that intention. Let me offer an om, an ah, to clear the field for receiving and sending. Make sense? Yeah, I think it does too. If you find other ways, write me. Let me know what those are, because I'd love to include them. I'll include these in a write-up along with the recording. And we're going to be practicing right speech and listening for at least 2 weeks because it is so significant, isn't it? We're doing it continuously. And I would love to see us do it in a way that ultimately alters the karmic debt and equals karmic benefit for us all and this world right now, especially as it is in such desperate need. May we all be well. May we all have peace of being. And may we practice wholeheartedly this week. I look forward to seeing you all this Saturday in the garden and on Zoom at 8:30. I will be departing for another commitment, and Greg will be completing the conversation. I look forward to being with you then. Please drop in with Greg on this Thursday at 7. And we are going to be starting a matching donor for the Ukraine. I'll be writing about that today in the newsletter. Please look for that. We're going to be, EMC is matching $5,000 up to $5,000. We're hoping to donate 10. And so please see what you can do to be of contribution there. All right, everyone. I hope you're well. Thank you all. Apologize it took us so long to get through today. Thank you all of you who have been able to stay. I look forward to practicing this with you. Find your heart. Let it be still and then open. And let's see what comes from that in speech and listening. I'll look forward to being with you next week, everyone. Be well. Love to you all.